Hello, everybody. Welcome to End Times Talk. I wasn't able to sleep and was going through some information and was just like, man, I should probably go live about this. And so here I am. Um, I don't know if you guys have seen what's happening in Ceuta, Spain, but it's insane what's going on and it's getting worse by the moment. I'm just going to show you this. But Spain is under attack from all sorts of different illegal immigrant invaders, and they're all military aged men. It's not There's no females among them. They're coming in, and I'll be honest with you, like, and I'll just and if there's little ears here, you probably should change the channel or whatever, but because of what I'm about to say. But this guy was standing in, I forget where he was, but he was standing, and a guy comes up and slits his throat right where he stood. There's video going around of this taking place. Like, these people are there to kill, steal. They've declared a state of emergency. They have looted all of the grocery stores. There's nothing left. Everybody's locked in their homes. And this is exactly what I've been talking about, this type of stuff, when I talk about Albert Pike's 3 world wars and the plan that the Illuminati has to create a final social cataclysm. It says, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effects of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery, and of the most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, and I'm just adding this, will be forced. I'm adding will be forced. It says will be forced to exterminate those destroyers of civilization. And so this is an event that they have where they want to try to use it to demonize Christians and anybody who's the Second Amendment, or anybody who stands up for their country, or that's just a patriot for their country. And it don't matter what country it is. These people are having to fight back right now, and they're having to go out into the streets in Ceuta, Spain, and try to take it back. The government has completely abandoned them. And so I'm gonna show you some footage here. Hold on one second. It's a literal invasion, and I'm gonna try to whittle away at this here and show you. They're even going into the graveyards in Ceuta, Spain, and these are Muslim invaders. They're saying from Morocco, and I guess they're smashing gravestones and using the gravestones to hurl projectiles at the citizens here. I'll show you this video. And it seems to me that the majority, and I muted it here so I can talk over this, but it seems to me the majority of this are people aged 16 to 25. I mean, there's a guy with a machete right there. There's guys with machetes running around and knives. Here's a guy with a baseball bat in his hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's complete upheaval. These people have just come in. And I mean, but by the thousands, it's a flood. And here's the thing, and it's complete border collapse. That's what's happening. And what I'm concerned about is that this is going to eventually come to America, and I'm trying to show this now because I want people to get a taste of what's actually taking place. And I believe this is subtitled here. That's why I'm going to share it here. Hold on a second.
Nos han invadido. Estamos en...
Okay, so it's in Spanish. This is the translation here. Ceuta resident says they've invaded us. We're locked in our homes. The supermarkets have been looted. She says there are no supplies. There's absolutely nothing. They're trying to break into houses. And there's no one to protect us. They've abandoned us, is what she's saying in this video. And this isn't the hot gossip news right now. And I'm going to show you this next video, and you can just see the terror on this woman's face. But she is you can see she's trying to talk to the reporter, and you can see all these people, these Muslims from Morocco that have invaded the country, and they're just coming up onto the beaches, like, listen to what this woman's saying. I think that there's subtitles to this one.
Rocío. Es que estoy temblando, es que de verdad esto es para vivirlo. Esto es para vivirlo como mujer. Esto es una invasión, han empezado por Ceuta, pero esto es la frontera a España, la frontera a Europa. Hoy ha sido Melilla, mañana será Canarias, pasado será Tarifa. De verdad, es que no hay derecho. Rocío.
And they don't obviously speak their language, you know, for the most part, from what I can understand. Because if they knew what she was saying, you know what I mean, they'd probably be, you know, not so just standing there. But they think they're being welcomed because of the amnesty that was just granted to migrants in Spain. I mean, an instant flood. It was like when you had Biden saying immediately surge the border. You know, when when he became president, he said, you know, he wanted them to immediately surge the border, and they did. We have millions of immigrants here that do not like America. They want to destroy America. They want to live off the taxpayer dollar. You know, they want to use our free, you know, healthcare, or want to use our healthcare system to their advantage without even contributing anything to America whatsoever. You know what I mean? And being a productive member of society. You know, I'm not against people coming here, but to come here illegally and commit acts of violence and those sorts of things, that stuff, we can't tolerate that, and no country should tolerate that. People down in Mexico and Tijuana are protesting that there's migrants down there right now. So it's, you know, I'm tired of being shamed, you know, by people for feeling like, you know what, these people belong in their own country. You know, we belong in our country. People want to come here legally, come here legally. There's nothing wrong with that. I love foreign food and foreign culture and foreign artwork and things like that. I think that stuff's awesome. You know, I think it's okay to be, you know, interested in other cultures and things like that. But to have people come here and wave their own flag, to have people come to your country and wave their own flag and conquering your country, we see what's taking place here. You know, and she's like, you need to be here to see it for yourself, is what she was saying. I'm just gonna mute it and let it play because I can't. She says, I'm shaking. Seriously, this is something you have to witness in person. This is something you have to see for yourself. You have to live through. This is an invasion. They started with Ceuta, but this is the gateway to Spain, the gateway to Europe. This is going to spread, is what she's trying to say. She's trying to say that this is going to spread, and it's going to get worse. It's going to continue to get worse. Replacement migration is a real thing that's out there. Hold on one second. I'm making sure I have everything here. So there's also this one where they're breaking into a building right here. I'll just play this. It's just complete chaos. And like she said, it's an invasion. And so, like, we saw things like this happen in America, but not to this extent. And Spain is relatively small, obviously, compared to America. You know what I mean? And a lot of the people that were from over in Europe and things like that, when they came to America, they were like, astounded with how big America actually is. And it is. It's a big country. But this just goes to show that there is a plan that the Illuminati has to create a social cataclysm that is violent and bloody, because they want the citizens to stand up and destroy. They want there to be warfare. And that's the bigger goal of the Illuminati as the Middle East begins to deteriorate. And so, the Middle East is definitely deteriorating quickly. And, I don't believe any damn peace deal that they got going on. Any ceasefire agreement is completely mildly temporary, if they do ever have one again, because this is an apocalyptic war that we're in now. This is an apocalyptic war that we're in right now, and both sides know that, the good and the bad, that this is a war that's leading into the end times. This stuff has to come to happen. This stuff has to happen. It has to begin to take place. And the falling away has been happening. You got so many people that are compromised. And then you have the world scene that's deteriorating day by day by day. And everybody feels the weight of this. But I believe that we'll see something like this in America if the Lord tarries. And I think it'll be a lot more violent when it comes time in America, because America's loaded with guns. And it's not guns that kill people. It's not the gun's fault. The gun is a tool. The gun can be used for hunting and whatnot, to be able to provide food, and for self-defense and things like that. So it's, the person behind it and their intention on what they plan to do to use it, how they plan to use it. But I do believe that there's people that are acquiring weaponry, and that it's going to be a difficult battle when especially it comes to America. And, the UK doesn't have any firearms legally. They're not allowed to have firearms. And, they're getting slaughtered right and left. It's a heartbreaking situation. I've seen so many horrific videos of people being maimed by illegal immigrants coming in and just knife attacking people and slaughtering people. It's what these people are doing in their own country. They come to other countries, and that's what they intend to do in those. I'll be graphic here, and again, this is, not something for little ears, and you need to turn the channel before I say this, what I'm about to say. But there was a guy I saw on one of these raft boats coming over to Europe. And excuse my language, I'm just relaying the news here, what I saw. But this dude had a shirt that says, "I'm going to F your wife." That's what his shirt said. They know what they're coming to these other countries for. They're being told by the higher ups in the United Nations. And again, we had that guy. I showed the video of it just the other day. I need to dig into my videos and find it. But this guy, he's in Ireland. He's in Ireland, and he's from Syria. He's traveling through Syria to Ireland. And he said that he came with 100 people to Ireland, and that the United Nations pays him. It was a ridiculous amount of money a week for him and his family to live. And then he said that he knew of 100 more families, and their families are big. 100 more families that were coming behind them. And so if you look up, you could Google it. You go to Google and you just type in replacement migration United Nations PDF. More than likely it'll pop up. You got to dig around maybe sometimes, if it's going to be difficult. But There's a PDF document called Replacement Migration, and it's all about them replacing us. The slave population. They want people who will do as they're told. And these people will do as they're told because they've been living in the third world for so long that America is, even though America's, as we'll just talk along American lines right now, but even America is very run down from what it used to be. And if you go over to, say, like Thailand, over in Thailand, man, things are booming over there. It's like the space age over there. Have you ever seen One Bangkok? I think is what it's called. One Bangkok. Go look up One Bangkok and tell me that ain't space age and that we're behind when it comes to infrastructure, and we are. And so, but people coming from the third world that ain't never had even this infrastructure see it as, oh, this is the big time. I seen a guy who was saying, I've come here for my free house and my free health care. I'm entitled to what's mine, is what he said on the video. That's their mentality. They're coming here because they believe they're entitled. So, on to the next thing I want to talk about. And that is, and this is really scary to me, is that they're going to start putting flock safety cameras on surveillance drones. And remember me telling you about how they're going to put the surveillance drones, they're going to be used by police and stuff. And now flock is going to get put on those so they can't get cut down, right? Because cutting flock cameras down is a bad thing. If you try to shoot down a flock drone, man, it's a bad thing. All right, don't do it. But it says this: the same company behind the cameras are now putting autonomous surveillance drones in the sky. Now the company's automated license plate readers have spread across the country, creating one of the nation's largest interconnected video surveillance network grids. After partnering with aviation software company Aerodrome, Flock launched Flock Alpha, an autonomous police drone built to respond to emergencies before officers even arrive. That's what it's going to be used for. The drone sits inside a waterproof docking station waiting for a call, and when a 911 report comes in, the drone can launch automatically and fly up to 60 miles per hour, and they don't have to take turns or take roads, right? They can, as the crow flies, they can get right there. Officers don't even have to be standing nearby, and this thing isn't just flying overhead. It's got thermal imaging, high-definition cameras, and powerful optical zoom. And while, according to Flock, it can't even read a vehicle's license plate from 2,000 feet away. According to Flock, it can even read a vehicle's license plate from 2,000 feet away. That's insane. It says these drones are being marketed specifically as a drone as first responder used to respond to emergency calls. That's how they're going to sell it to you. That's how they're going to get it implemented. And how do you know what drone has what? You'd have to know, you know what I mean? Like sometimes when a drone is in the sky and it's high up enough, if you can even see it, if you can even hear it, it's hard telling what kind of drone it is. And I use drones for my documentaries, and I'm telling you that the things that they can do, it's just insane if you've never messed with them. So this guy right here, he's saying that he shared a video of a leaked San Francisco footage of flock drones that are clearly just roaming around looking for crimes. And he's saying, in other words, that's mass surveillance. And it is. Unless there's a crime happening and it's going out to that 911 call specifically, and if it's just flying around, that's mass surveillance. The police state is here, people, and they're getting ready to pull a big trigger, and they're getting the police state implemented so they can have control over any people who would be dissidents that would stand up against this thing that's about to be implemented, which means it's bad. It ain't going to be good. Ain't going to be good, that's for sure. I think it's worth noting. It's kind of random news, but this guy died for 45 minutes, and I'm not going to play the video because it's someone else's video. And you know, but I'm gonna but it's this guy that I'll show it. Hold on one second, so that way you can go look it up at least. Hold on, I'm trying to share the screen here. This guy that died for 45 minutes tells the UN, God has totally raised me from the dead. And he was talking about seeing Jesus and all that stuff. What a testimony before the world leaders. God's sending people in to testify before world leaders who really runs the show. I have not watched this, but I saw like a quote from it. He's talking about seeing Jesus and all this stuff. And so what a testimony. And I just seen that. I'm like, man, you know, God's getting ready to make big moves if he's telling the world leaders, hey, you better listen up. Time's short, because that's exactly what's happening. And another thing here, hold on. Thought this was real interesting. Mamdani is open to forcing New Yorkers to pay cash reparations for slavery. He says we were very complicit. I wasn't complicit in no slavery, man. I've been against that thing from the day I was born, man. Like, and I don't know anybody that has been. I don't know any slaves except for people who are human trafficked and sold into sex slavery and things like that, or work slavery, like from other countries, you know, and things like that, or whatnot. But I don't know anybody who owns a slave. I you know what I mean? I don't. You know what I mean? So how are Americans complicit in that? I don't understand that logic. I don't get that logic. But Mom Donnie is open to forcing New Yorkers to pay reparations for past slavery. That makes a whole lot of sense. But you know, speaking of New York, you know, it's crazy because the archetype of what's coming in America and how the system is going to be, you know, the Muslims are coming in right and left, and they got big money. They got big money. They got those they got oil money behind them, and they have oil deals. So I think the government's striking deals with them. I'm gonna be honest with you, in turn for oil. I really do. And I think it's being allowed in at this time. And I really feel like, you know, what we're seeing in New York and other places is going to begin to spread. What we're seeing in Ceuta, Spain, is going to begin to spread. I don't know how fast, but it's coming. And um, you know, it's shocking, to say the least, to see, you know, everything that I've been learning about for so many years. It's like, you know, things that were talked about 15 years ago are happening now, and it's accelerating at such a fast pace. The world is destabilizing so quickly. It's hard to grasp the scale of what's taken place, because there's so many agents working together against the interests of the people, and they believe in accelerating the apocalypse. And there's a lot of different groups and fronts that are doing this, their own form of accelerationism, whatever their religion is. They believe in just getting this party going. And I've even heard Christians and conspiracy theorists say, you know what, let's just get this show on the road. Let's just, you know what, just pull the trigger. Come on, let's go. We know enough of this dilly dallying. But you don't want what's coming. You don't want that. That is not intelligent to say. That is very that is not discerning to say something like that, because you don't want what's coming. You don't want the danger. You don't want your children to have to face something like that. You don't want your wife to have to face something like that. God forbid my child or my wife ever has to see anything like that, where people are invading and people are running for their lives, and locked in their homes, and homes are getting broken into, and all this stuff. And it's happening, and it's their plan for the rest of us. It really is. This is their plan for the rest of us. This is what it's been looking like we've seen it in France. And France has been, and they had that movie Athena that I've showed you a million times, where in France, there was supposedly cops that killed a Muslim, but really it was white supremacists that killed the Muslim. But they dressed like cops because they wanted the cops to take the fall for the murder. And but so there's this whole entire war between the police and the Muslims in France over nothing. Oh, well, it wasn't over nothing, but over that. And but that's again, they're false flagging it up and doing everything that they can to try to stir up chaos, because they need that chaos to bring about order, the new world order. And in all of the nations, you're going to see a synchronizing you're going to see the destabilization being synchronized across all fronts as the Middle East begins to destabilize. That's what I believe. If we're looking at Albert Pike's 3 World Wars, like we've talked about a million times on this channel, that what we're seeing right now will begin to spread and destabilize more and more, because the Middle East is beginning to destabilize. I don't think they have a handle on this thing at all. They don't have they have no idea what they're doing. They don't have the slightest clue what's going on. Neither side, Iran, America, Israel, they don't know what they're doing. And there's no real plan for the future. So it leads me to believe that this is all intentional. This back and forth, and we don't know, we do know, we don't know, we do know. It's all intentional. It's all a psychological operation that they're putting in place to try to deceive mankind, or to wear us out, to prepare us, tenderize us to be ready for the New World Order. Because when it comes, man, they're going to really try to sell it, just like they did the cell phone. Ooh, look at that. But now it's your tyranny. Now it's your downfall. Now it's listening to you, monitoring your heart rate, and monitoring how far you walk and where in your home that you are, and GPS coordinating everywhere, every moment. And then the flock cameras are finishing off the job. But they sold it to you like, oh, this is going to help you organize your life. Man, they used to give us a planner in school. Don't y'all remember that? People forget planners. People have a handbag and they carry around a planner. You don't need a cell phone for that. But you know what? They sold it to you. Hey, this will help you take care of the math, quick and in a jiff, man. Just punch it into this calculator right in the palm of your hand. And it's one of those things where they make it seem like it's beneficial to mankind, like supermarkets, right? Instead of gardening, go to the supermarket after your 9 to 5 job, go to your supermarket, every day is exactly the same. There's like that 9 Inch Nail song, and every day is exactly the same. And it's, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's one of those songs that's pretty interesting, because it hits the nail spot on, because everybody's a slave right now. You talk about slavery. How about the government gives the people as a whole reparations? How about that? Because everybody else across the board, 9 to 5 in it, supermarket, get your food, go home, cook it, get the kids, in bed, shower and shave and, hang out, watch one TV show. Then you're off to bed to do it again the same next day. That's slavery, man, in a form. This system that they've created to collapse, by the way, it's designed to collapse, is a form of slavery. And they want you dependent on that system, because they control that specific system. When you garden, when you catch your own rainwater, things like that, when you do for yourself and your homesteading all on your own, they can't control that. They can't control what's in your food then. They can't put GMO, bioengineered food ingredients into your meals. You see what I'm saying? Like it's so they've created something that they can control. They've been doing it for a long time, years and years and years. But they're starting to put the finishing touches on it, and that's what's alarming to me. Hold on, I'm getting a drink. That's what's alarming to me. The side teaching needs to stop in the live chat. If you got an opinion, it's okay if you want to share it, on your own channel or something like that. But I mean, some people, they might not know exactly what you're talking about in detail and take that and run off and get into some weird doctrine and get sidetracked. And so if people want to teach, I always suggest starting up a YouTube channel. But my point is that, this system that they've set up in order to collapse, to destabilize, has been put into place so that way they can have a new world order. It's a temporary system that is very fragile, and they're feathering the brake pedal, like we've talked about before. They're feathering the brake pedal, but they are slamming on the brakes, and the engine will come to a halt for sure. It will, and it is. It's happening, I think, at a faster pace than honestly what I expected. I was hoping that I wouldn't see, countries getting invaded by migrants. I mean, it's been happening in America, and it's been happening in so many countries across the globe. It's like, dude, where are these people coming from? It's almost like, like they just like, I got a batch of clones underground, and they just releasing them. And I know that's not true. That's silly. But my point is, it's like they're coming from nowhere. Yeah, yeah, the New World Order is definitely going to be like, they're going to try to it's going to be this, like Trump's trying to sell a golden age. I think it's a forerunner. I think Trump's a forerunner. I don't think he's the Antichrist. There's too many people that hate him for him to be the Antichrist. But because the Antichrist will be loved by many, most of the world's population. But I feel like, they're going to try to make it all look great and beneficial. It's the golden age, and the Bible says, peace, peace. They shall say peace and safety, and then sudden destruction. And I think that that's what that pertains to. Like, there's like this chaos that's coming and brewing, and it's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. It's a difficult thing to try to predict, because the way that they're going about this, it's coming from all angles, and you can look at it this way and you can look at it that way, but the end result. And I've always said, I don't know how they're going to fully bring all this about. You know what I mean? I don't know how they're going to bring all of it about. I don't know what specific event is going to be the trigger event. It could be a blackout. It could be, an invasion of a mass amount of military aged men. It could be a virus. It could be, an insurrection. It could be, a meteorite striking. I'm just saying, there's so many angles of what could be a catalyst. The New Madrid earthquake happening. I mean, there's so many different angles that you could say that could be the catalyst for the event that finally causes it to happen. But once it happens, we know their game. We know what they're going to do. We know that they're going to patrol with the drones. We know that they're going to control what everybody says, what everybody thinks. They're going to know what almost, everybody's thinking. MPAT, if you would elaborate on that, CNN says lockdown soon again. If you would elaborate on that, I'd be interested to hear what you have to say there. But it's I forgot where I was going with that. I'm trying to think. Yeah, so it's not, we don't know how they're going to go about doing it, but we know what they're going to do once they do it. and it's going to be complete tyranny. George Orwell's 1984. It's going to be a police state. You're going to have to like literally like again, just like walk to or ride to get a ride to work, get a ride to work. And that person was just joking. Like that's like ridiculous crap to say that kind of stuff and just ridiculous. Anyways, so man, at night, man, people come out, they bloom, right? So it's going to be like a tyrannical system, and we know that the Antichrist is going to cause everybody to take a mark, and you're going to have to walk the dotted line. More than likely, you'll get up, you'll go to work, you'll come home, you'll go to bed, you'll get up, you'll go to work, you come home, you go to bed, and just a repetitive cycle like that. Like that's what they'll want, all within a 15-minute city. You probably can only get to fly once every few years to go see family that lives somewhere else. They really are going to do this thing, and I think they have the means to do it. I think they have the plan in place to do it, and I think they have everything technologically speaking that they need to get the job done and to process that information and that data. So that's something to think about. I am off of here. I hope you guys have a great night. May God bless you all. May he keep you. And please don't forget to go out and change this world in which you live.